And the top of the morning to you. This is the Common Constitutionalist coming to you with the lame attempt at an Irish accent for St. Paddy's Day. And I am not Irish, I am English, and we are the, the sworn enemies of the Irish, or at least to some anyway. But this is the Common Constitutionalist with the Common Constitutionalist Weekly Podcast. And I have got several topics on the docket today, but something came to me last night, I think it was, and I started reading over this thing, and it got my blood to boiling, baby. And so I have a sneaking suspicion that this is going to be the one and only topic, because I'm going to probably drone on non-stop with this one. It's regarding CAFE standards, the fuel efficiency standards that the government imposes on us because they can. And this goes hand in glove with global warming, which is another one of my frackin' hot button issues with immigration and a few other things, radical Islam. But this thing's got me hot under the collar, so I'm going to discuss this, and probably only this, today on the Common Constitutionalist.
You are listening to the Common Constitutionalist, broadcasting from an undisclosed location, free from the prying eyes of establishment black helicopters.
All right. As I said in the opening, CAFE standards. Everybody loves them. The corporate average fuel economy standards. It's, where you have to get all these little crap box cars to meet the liberal standards of fuel efficiency. And this comes to us from the Fiscal Times. Actually, CAFE standards started in This is the way it always happens, is progressive Republicans beget radical liberals or leftists. That's how it always works in modern history. Gerald Ford was a progressive Republican. What did we get out of Gerald Ford? Jimmy Carter. Then the only time that we've had in our modern day history that we tried to turn it back was Ronald Reagan, but then he left office because he had to, and that gave us the progressive George H.W. Bush, which gave us radical Bill Clinton, and then we went to progressive George W. Bush, which gave us radical, even the most radical Obama. That's the way it works. So a lot of people like to blame the Democrats for this kind of nonsense, for all these silly standards and rules and regulations and whatnot. But what actually happens is that the progressive Republicans, they start down this road. They open up Pandora's box. And then once it's open, you can't close it back again, or nobody has the courage to close it back again. So they just pile on, basically. And Gerald Ford was the one that opened this thing during the oil embargo, and it was his administration that kind of pushed this through. The Congress enacted a law enacting CAFE standards to begin with in 1975, and away you go. And then the new CAFE standards were actually instituted in 2007. Well, who was president in 2007? Yes, it was progressive George W. Bush, Republican. I think the guy he's a wonderful individual. I certainly don't know him personally. I've never met him, but he certainly seems like a genuine, wonderful individual, as his father was. But they are both ridiculous big government progressives. They're just not radical leftist whack jobs like Obama and Carter and Clinton. So, anywho, the Fiscal Times says that the White House's attempts to alter Obama administration's plans to raise federal automobile standards, fuel standards, could be a slog and ultimately yield little change, experts say. Who are these freaking experts? I love the way they just throw the experts out. They never actually say who the experts are. They're just experts. Yeah, they're experts, so we'll believe them. They're just environmentalist whack jobs, either from the EPA or from environmentalist groups. Probably most of them used to work for the EPA or something like that. The Department of Transportation and the Environmental Protection Agency will revisit rules finalized under President Barack Obama that would keep automakers on pace to manufacture vehicles that get more miles to the gallon and that nobody freaking wants because they're little crap boxes made out of paper towels and bubble gum. But experts say it will be difficult for President Donald Trump to meaningfully relax the rules under the Corporate Average Fuel Economy Standards, or CAFE. Of course it is, because that's the way they write these things. Still, Trump said on Wednesday that a review would help boost the U.S. auto industry in the short order. So just basically talking about it is going to boost it. Okay, all right. I hope he does it. I hope he's serious about it, and I hope he can get it done. Quote, I'm sure you have all heard the big news that we're going to work on the CAFE standards so you can make cars in America again. Well, they're making cars in America now, but at any rate, Trump told auto workers during a rally in Detroit, quote, we want to be the car capital of the world again. We will be, and it won't be long. Believe me. Unquote, Trump said. Well, I'd love to believe you. You've done some pretty good things. You've done what you said you were going to do. You're not getting any help from anybody, I'll grant it. At least not yet. But, you know, so far, so good for at least Trump's campaign promises anyway. And this was actually one of them, if I'm not mistaken. So this is a real sticking point for me, and something needs to be done about this. The Fiscal Times writes that the Obama administration finalized the CAFE standards for model year 2022 through 2025 cars and light trucks 1 week before Trump took office. Okay, this shouldn't be allowed. There should be no such thing as a lame duck presidency, and there should be no such thing as a lame duck Congress or Senate. Nothing can be allowed to happen except for in time of war. I mean, and I'm talking actual fighting battle, World War III type of deal. Something serious needs to be addressed on this issue, because this is just absolutely absurd. The fact that they can write this legislation or push it through or executive order or write a rule or write a regulation that has full authority of law 1 week before he's inaugurated. That's ridiculous. It shouldn't happen. It can't happen. But it does, and it does all the time. And when you get somebody like as radical as Obama, he's going to push, and we've seen it, he's pushed through stuff at light speed, as fast as he can push it through, and he's had this stuff in the works for probably a couple of years, just in a desk drawer somewhere, you know, that something like lame duck rules and regulations, and then they just go into hyperspeed and push them out as fast as you can blink. And we're saddled with these things for whatever reason. For some reason, we're saddled with these things. Like nobody has the courage to challenge these stupid things. And whatever. Let me continue. So Fiscal Times writes that the finalized CAFE standards that Obama wrote in 1 week before Trump took office was well ahead of the April 2018 deadline to complete a review of tougher tailpipe rules, which would move American car makers' fleets toward an average of 54.5 miles per gallon. It's absolutely absurd. Everybody's going to be riding bikes soon. That assessment was intended to determine, now here, dig this, determine how the industry was adapting to new standards and whether it was feasible to continue ratcheting up the average fuel efficiency as planned. The Obama administration, the EPA, none of these autocrats give a flying blank what the auto manufacturers think about anything. Whether it was, what did they say? Whether it was feasible to continue ratcheting up the average fuel efficiency as planned. They don't give a crap one way or the other. They're going to ratchet it up as much as they can ratchet it up. If they could make it 100 miles per gallon, they would have done that and put the auto industry out of business like they tried to do the coal industry and every other industry they didn't like. Whether it was feasible. Give me a freaking break. Like they give a crap. I need to take a breath. I'll be back in a second. You're listening to me, the Common Constitutionalist.
Yeah, baby! Yeah.
Okay, I'm back, taking a breath and everything. Here we go. Much better frame of mind. That's the ticket, baby. All right, they continue. The Fiscal Times does. Former EPA liaison and Obama campaign staffer Dan Cannon said any impact from Wednesday's reopening of the review would likely be limited. Of course it will. Quote, it's not rescinding the entire rule. It's not rescinding the standards. It would be quite difficult to do that, but it sends a signal that Trump is interested in going down that route, unquote, said Cannon, now vice president of an issues and advocacy group. Oh, it's a lobbying group, that's right. He used to work for the EPA and he used to work for the Obama campaign, and now he's a government lobbyist. Isn't that interesting? This is the reason why Trump wrote that rule, that you can't be a lobbyist for 5 years and you can never lobby for a foreign government, period, because of this kind of crap. And they continue. Under the 2007 law, which was created by and pushed through by progressive George W. Bush and piled on by Obama, and again, to revisit, that's the way it always works, the law that created the CAFE standards, the Trump administration and automakers must show that stricter tailpipe rules would be financially detrimental in order to revise the current schedule, Cannon noted. Quote, they've got to prove real hardship on the cost, not just an inconvenience, unquote, Cannon said. And that's the way it works. This is the way it works. Any president, any whack job leftist, they can write rules and regulations and laws up the wazoo, and they don't need anything. They don't need any reason for doing it. They just make up some sort of effing reason, excuse my French, and then once it's enacted, it is, let's see, they'll have to show that it'll be a serious financial detriment in order to even change the schedule. Yes, of course. So you won't be able to rescind the rule, and in order to change the schedule, you have to prove to some jerkwad court panel that doesn't know the first thing about the fuel efficiency standards or any other doggone thing that has to do with science, because they're political appointees, and you have to show them that it's a detrimental order. Give me a break. So they like I said, they make it as easy as possible to write these onerous regulations, and they make it damn near impossible to rescind them. That's the way it works in Washington. Gotta love them. The Times continues. Automakers worry that they will have to produce small, fuel-efficient cars that are currently out of fashion in today's low oil price environment to offset the impact of gas guzzlers on their fleet's average efficiency. So yeah, basically they should worry, because they have to produce a lot of crap boxes that no one wants to buy. Everybody wants the SUV, everybody wants the big pick-em-up truck or something like that. And that's what they want. They don't want these little, whatever those things, the smart cars that look like some sort of stupid matchbox. There's some Birkenstock wearing old bag in New Hampshire that she works for the I think she's a state government official, elected official. I don't know whether she's a representative or a state senator or something like that, but she drives around in a little smart car. And I don't know, I think it's got some wacky leftist bumper stickers or on something stupid thing like that. But these are the people that want these stupid little smart cars. Nobody normal wants them. And there we go. Whew. Okay, here we go. Let's continue. Researchers at Indiana University's School of Public and Environmental Affairs. May I divert a little bit? This is what's wrong with this country, that our government is so freaking huge that it's got so many people. We employ like 2.4 million people in the government. It's ridiculous. You know what? I don't know. It's just ridiculous. And the fact that they formed schools around government, public policy, and environmental policy is absurd. But at any rate, Researchers at Indiana University School of Public and Environmental Affairs recently concluded that standards would have a negative impact on the economy for just a few years to roughly a decade, depending on a number of market factors. However, higher fuel efficiency would be a net positive in the long term, the researchers concluded. A net positive for whom? A net positive for what? For the environmentalist whack jobs? For the crunchy Birkenstock-wearing hippie freakazoids out there? Is that who they're going to be? Who's the net positive for? Because it ain't for me and you, I'll guarantee you that. For the environment, for Mother Earth and the planet? Is that what's going to save us all? Is driving smart cars? That's what's going to save us? You jerks. And they conclude also that investments in fuel-saving technology would increase employment, output, and disposable income, offsetting at least half of the negative impacts. So instead of 100% negative impact, we'll only have a 50% negative impact. Savings at the pump would ultimately allow consumers to spend money elsewhere in the economy. Bullcrap. So it's like the government comes and puts a gun to your head and says, "Give me $100," and then they give you 50 back. They didn't give you 50. They didn't give you a rebate of $50. They stole 100, or they stole 50 from you. That's what they did. It is just the logic escape. Well, there is no logic to escape. So the Fiscal Times they present Trump's options. Here's Trump's options. That leaves room for interpretation of economic harm. Oh, you son. Like it's the business of the government. It's no freaking business of the government what we do. Get the hell out of our way and just let her live our lives. Okay. You know what? I need another breather. I'll be right back.
You're listening to the Common Constitutionalist. Let the truth be known.
All right, I needed that breather because this one's going to drive me up the freaking wall. Ready for Trump's options? Because they don't look very rosy according to this piece. Any rollback of the rules is likely to be challenged in court by state or environmentalists, and there is a long legal and scientific record that supports the Obama-era standings, including that stupid blankety-blank in 2007 Supreme Court verdict on regulating heat-trapping emissions from auto, experts say. Yeah. So this needs to be revisited. Congress needs to make a law, something, whatever, and get the freaking Supreme Court. The court shouldn't have ruled on this. They had no reason, they had no right. No court has a right to rule on this crap. This is a legislative matter. It's a political matter. It's not a legal matter. And this is just bull crap. But we allow this stuff to happen. We allow the courts to run roughshod over us because of the frickin' one decision, Marbury versus Madison. And so ever since then, the courts have basically ruled this country, and they own this freaking country. And there's nobody who's got the courage to stand up and say, you know what, courts, screw you, we're doing what we want because this is a legislative issue. We're writing this law and piss all over you. The heck with you. And as much as that is an anarchist view to some, particularly, most of the time it's an anarchist view to lawyers, how else are you going to stop these runaway courts? The decision that a Supreme Court makes a decision on regulating CO2, in what universe is that reasonable or logical? In what universe do they have the authority to do that? They don't, but they did, and no one's going to stand up to them because we're all a bunch of frickin' rhymes with wussy. Okay. Whether the Trump administration prevails will hinge on the judicial panel that hears the challenge, but some policy options are more likely to be overturned than others, said John Graham, a former senior official under George W. Bush who worked on fuel efficiency standards. I can't even believe the government's involved in this crap at all. It's just, this is what's wrong with this freaking government. We're too big, too onerous, and they try to control everything, and we allow it. Fact that they got to go through in front of a panel of judges that don't know the first thing of what they're talking about, and yet they're supposed to rule on the rest of our lives, basically. Quote, there is a significant chance of judicial reversal if they're not careful on the review of the economic analysis that supports the new rulemaking, said Graham, now Dean of Indiana's SPEA, that School of Public Environmental Affairs thing. Okay, the option least likely to be reversed is extending the deadline for automakers to achieve the 54.5 miles per gallon fleets to 2030 instead of 2025. Oh, whoopty-frickin'-do. Trump could also provide more credits to cars. So basically, they're just giving little hints as to patches. Okay, it's the same. It just dawned on me. This is the same as the freaking Obamacare thing. Don't repeal it. Don't try to get rid of it en masse. Don't get rid of the whole frickin' thing. Just try to put a little patch on here, and we'll weld a little bit here, and we'll glue it up a little bit here, and we'll put a Band-Aid on it over here, and everything will be Jim freaking dandy until the next administration comes in and sees that the structure, the basic structure that that Obama put in place for Obamacare is still there, and so he can undo everything that the Trump administration patched up and Band-Aided up, and Paul Ryan and Mitch McConnell, the old dirty dog. And it's the same thing here. So basically the suggestion is, well, we're just going to stick a little Band-Aid here. We'll super glue this little crack over here, and we'll try and fix it up as best we can. And we'll postpone the inevitable demise of the auto industry, because that's, in fact, what we want anyway. The only way to rid ourselves of CAFE standards is to rid ourselves of CAFE standards, to get the freaking government completely out of it and let the car companies make whatever they want to make and let the market decide what's going to happen. When gas prices go up, guess what? People stop buying gas-guzzling cars. But gas prices shouldn't go up, because if you got the government out of the energy industry, they could go explore all they want, and they're going to find that we've got more oil, gas, and coal than we could ever use in 800 lifetimes. And that's what we'd find if they ever took the handcuffs off the energy industry. And the precious climate isn't going to be harmed. It's not going to be harmed any more than some humongous volcano that blows up naturally, or naturally occurring oil that's seeped out of the ocean floor every day, every minute of every day of every year. The catastrophic climate change and stuff happens all the time and has nothing to do with mankind. These fuel efficiency standards aren't going to do a darn thing other than promote the radical leftist view. The same thing with Obamacare. It's the same thing. All these things are the same. They make them so easy to put in and virtually impossible to take out. It's absolutely absurd. So the only way to get around this CAFE standard is to end it. To end it, period. To get the government out of the business of regulating the auto industry. Let the market do it. Other than that, I ain't got nothing to say. So I am signing off. I was going to actually do another segment, but I am done. Finny. So this is the Common Constitutionalist signing off. Y'all have a great weekend. Dadgummit all anyhow. And we'll talk to you next week. I'm out. See ya.